All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm going to talk about a new solution that we've developed on Alfresco called the Marketing Asset Center. It's a, as I'll talk a little bit later, it's a free and open source add-on to the Alfresco platform for managing digital assets for the marketing department and distributing those out to all stakeholders for the enterprise. The agenda today will be just a short introduction about Rivet Logic for those of you who don't know us. And then I'm going to dive into, to answer the question of why are we interested in marketing asset management in the first place, and talk about common enterprise challenges that we see out there. And then I'll dive into the solution that we've developed to address the challenges. I'll highlight the solution through a case study that we've developed a solution based on this for MasterCard. So I'll give you some details there, followed by a demo and Q&A. But please, if you do have any questions, I'd love it to be interactive, so feel free to throw questions at me throughout the presentation. So just a few words on Rivet Logic. We've been an Alfresco partner really from day one. Back when Alfresco launched in 2005, we were one of the first partners. Since then, we've been awarded North American Partner of the Year for 2 years. And we've also developed another solution called Crafter CMS, which won a Solution of the Year award two times as well. So we have a bit of a track record in this area. We know Alfresco quite well. We've implemented it in many enterprise implementations over the years. Our particular areas of focus are like this solution in the area of digital asset management, web content management, and digital publishing. And some of our customers include some of the major brands that are using Alfresco, such as Marriott, Papa John's, T. Rowe Price, AT&T, and others. So as far as marketing asset management, I think we can look at what Steve Forbes says about the importance of brand, that investing in your brand can be one of the most important things you can do as an enterprise. In fact, if you looked at the balance sheet of some of the major brands like Coca-Cola and Google and Nike and many, many others, the brand is worth billions of dollars. And we know what happens when you fail, when you have brand failures as well. I've pulled out a couple examples from these brands when they failed to manage their global brand effectively. For example, Pepsi in Taiwan had a tagline about coming alive with the Pepsi generation. But in Taiwan, that meant that they were trying to bring your ancestors back from the grave. Or Parker Pens in Mexico about not leaking ink into your pocket and embarrassing you meant something different in Mexico, impregnating. And then lastly, Coors Beer in Spain, their nice little turn it loose slogan, not pretty. So turn it loose. So these are examples of what happens when a typical brand failure, that is corporate marketing, the enterprise sets the standard, sets the corporate guideline, or a tagline in this case, and promulgates it around the world. And nobody has a way on a regional basis to customize that for that locale or for that language. So that's one of many types of brand failures we're going to be talking about here. So you take this importance of managing a global brand combined with the digital revolution, right? And the explosion of digital marketing content in the form of social media and mobile ads and big data, and all that means that enterprises are dealing with an exploding amount of digital marketing assets. And most every enterprise, I know we're a 70-person organization, and we have these challenges as well. That we think we've solved to a large degree with this type of solution. Really, I think any enterprise that has more than a few marketing people on staff and more than a few salespeople and partners have a lot of assets in the marketing department that need, from to be centrally managed and to support the development of these assets, the ongoing management, repurposing of these assets, and as we saw in those slogans, the ability also to localize those assets as well on a regional basis, especially for global companies. And then to be able to easily distribute those assets securely to all stakeholders, not just the sales teams, but could be partners, it could be collaborating with digital agencies, could be separate marketing teams, sub-teams within the organization, remote offices, franchisees, even customers. So some of the common challenges we see out there in talking to our clients and others is the challenge of inconsistent branding, that is non-compliance with corporate guidelines and messaging, that without a centralized system to manage and enable the change that is needed, we end up with rogue employees making changes that sometimes get the company in quite a bit of trouble. Marketing content ends up scattered around different siloed repositories and shared drives. Version control issues, are we using really the latest approved versions of all of our different assets? And really no easy way for all stakeholders to get the latest and greatest digital assets. And all that results in compromising the integrity of the brand, negatively impacting ultimately sales. And then on the sales side, those are out in the field selling the products and services for our enterprises, sometimes have to do it themselves and end up creating marketing assets that, again, don't conform and takes away from the effective selling process that affects their opportunities. And lack of coordination between the sales and marketing department, so that without a solution that sales is unable to find the latest assets, that there's no way for employees, whether they're in sales or other departments, to provide feedback. You know, this worked really well in a presentation, or this campaign, or these assets within this campaign really delivered well. Let's learn from that. And then from a global corporate basis, the inability to roll out a global campaign simultaneously, especially when you have need to regionalize or localize content. So the Marketing Asset Center is a solution to address these challenges. It's a new and easy way to distribute digital marketing assets of all types by connecting stakeholders to the right assets through a personalized experience. And the high-level architecture is shown here, so where we have digital marketing assets that can come in through, as I'll show you, through Alfresco Share, utilizing all of Alfresco Share's capabilities for tagging content, workflowing content, and publishing content. And then providing a unique experience that can be tailored for different roles and different stakeholders who need to access that content. So it provides, here a little bit more detail, a centralized way to create and manage and localize all digital assets, distribute those securely to stakeholders, to utilize Alfresco Share's capabilities for collaboration in the form of creating content, repurposing content, and so forth, and then deliver those marketing assets across all digital channels. I'm going to show you a sample site for this Marketing Asset Center, but don't limit yourself to that, because Alfresco's architecture supports the publishing of these assets to all different types of digital channels. So once you've got content approved and published, that can go out to your enterprise portals, can go to mobile apps. I'm going to talk a little bit about the MasterCard case study in a little bit. Once we launch this for their B2B partners, their credit card issuers, the next thing they asked is, can you create a mobile app for our sales teams that can access the same content? Even social media channels and others. And really provide a way to quickly find the right assets through powerful search and I want to emphasize this again and again, is the ability to personalize the experience, not just throw all the assets out there and provide a website for people to search and find what they're looking for, but to really tailor that experience so you can promote certain things, certain content items, or provide a tailored experience for all the different organizational roles. You want your partners to have some assets that are different from maybe your sales teams or local marketing teams, and so on and so forth. It also provides a way through Alfresco's extensibility and some of the other technologies we use here to integrate and extend the platform with integrations with CRM or with your website content management systems, regardless of which systems you're using. And as I mentioned, with other enterprise systems or cloud-based services. So a very flexible, agile approach that we've taken here. So how can you and your enterprise benefit? We think that, again, what we put together here is supports the notion of enforcing consistent brand messaging and increasing the productivity of the marketing and sales teams, enabling global simultaneous campaign rollouts, better sales marketing coordination, and controlled customization. So once a corporate asset is published, that can be modified by a local team, run through workflow for approval, and then made available to those local teams that need it. And all this is built on proven technology that's such as, of course, Alfresco at the core for delivering these types of solutions. A little bit about the architecture. So we start with the asset managers. These are generally are going to be within marketing department that are creating all the different assets, whether they're press releases or digital images or ads on an ad campaign or slogans. They're coming through Alfresco Share, really not customized at all, just using Share pretty much out of the box. That's configured, of course, with metadata for these assets and workflows that can be configured for the organization. So using Share as a collaborative tool to create these assets, upload them into the Alfresco repository, apply the right metadata to them, the taxonomies, the tags that are appropriate, and then manage those. Question?
So the repository, can that be tied into Git, or is it Alfresco's repository and it's not able to be a third party?
Yeah, really for this is an Alfresco-based solution. So, because we're heavily using Share as the primary interface for the asset managers. Now, what you could do conceivably is use this and then publish out to another repository like Git or whatever you'd like. But it could be another channel, but for the content. But especially for this part of the workflow, uploading the content, tagging it, applying metadata, workflowing the content, all that is Alfresco based. And then we have the actual site itself. So this is a separate application that where the end users come and have a web experience, a website, or it could be a mobile experience through the actual Marketing Asset Center itself, which uses Crafter Engine. So Crafter Engine is a component from Crafter CMS, which is a web CMS built on top of Alfresco. So this is a Spring Java-based app for the technical folks here. So a Spring app, web app that provides, as I mentioned, a personalized web experience to the end users that interfaces to Alfresco repository for pulling all the digital marketing assets. And then there's one other component, which is a web CMS interface using Crafter Studio, which is generally going to be managed by marketing as well, but probably different users within marketing. And these site managers, they're creating those personalized experiences that are going to be tailored for each of the different audiences for the digital marketing. So we have our content asset managers. They're the ones, as I mentioned, creating the PDFs and the images and the videos, independent of who's going to get them, per se. And then we have the site managers who are personalizing the experience for the end users and creating an experience for sales teams or local sales teams or for partners or for franchisees if we're, that type of organization. Okay, so, and you'll get a little bit better sense of this when I walk you through the demo. So you see the actual different components here and the workflow. So now a little brief, let's kind of ground this in reality here and tell you about what we did for MasterCard using this solution. And this is adapted from a joint presentation I did with Jay Mandel from MasterCard a couple of years ago, 2012, at this same Alfresco conference. Back then it was called DevCon, not Summit. So MasterCard, they realized they needed to address the challenges that we were talking about earlier of managing consistent messaging of their brand primarily to their B2B partners, because they don't really go directly to consumers. They go to the market through all the financial institutions and credit card issuers. So their channel to market really are the banks, right? And so this site, the MasterCard Global Marketing Center, provides a consistent way to deliver content, all digital marketing assets, tailored to each of their banking partners where you get your credit cards and they're the ones that turn MasterCard promotional materials into campaigns that they deliver to ultimately their end customers. At the time when they approached us about the need for this solution 4 years ago, they had 20 different sites to solve this problem. So a lot of different sites all doing different things in different regions. And it was a problem in many respects, not just maintaining all these, but just the lack of consistency and the lack of reuse of content and the lack of any way for corporate marketing, corporate messaging to easily convey to all of these different regions. They needed a way to deliver a targeted user experience because a small bank in Malaysia is going to get a completely different experience from Citibank in New York City. All of their digital assets are managed. It's highly secure. And we have also integrated with CRM and commerce as well to support some particular workflows, and as I mentioned, to support their own field sales groups. So in their particular case, they have a big branding challenge, as you can imagine, all different types of locations, their brand shows up. So consistency of messaging is key. I mentioned at the outset of this, they were challenged with 20 different sites, or a little bit more of that, and they wanted to simplify their technology approach. And of course, they needed to internationalize this across the globe. So the solution ended up looking like this without diving into too much detail. The presentation is still on the Summit page from a couple years ago. Is still available. It has more detail, but now they have a consistent user experience. All of those different 20 sites are consolidated into one site that, as a bank coming in, can come in and get all of the different MasterCard experiences and offers for that particular bank or that particular locale. It provides that personalized experience and content targeting, so they can target promotions to different regions and banks. And it's enabled through a powerful search capability, basically using Solar. And the resulting architecture, kind of to elaborate on what I described earlier in the architecture of our approach here, is that the internal users on the left are using Alfresco as a platform and Crafter Studio to manage all of the content and the experiences, and then the end users are coming in through a secure interface to get that personalized experience and get access to those rich digital marketing assets. So, on to the demo. Any questions so far?
Is the CRM driven by Marketo and Salesforce together?
Their CRM is all Salesforce. So Marketo would be more in the area of marketing automation, but that's not part of their solution right now. This, it's all Salesforce, and there is a, there's actually a little shopping cart application for the commerce part, and that's for their print workflow. So the users have the ability to put assets into a shopping cart and check out those assets, and that upon checkout, those go through a print workflow process, and MasterCard uses an internal printer and then delivers those printed materials to the end client that goes through that process. So that's the commerce part of it. It's kind of unique. You had a question?
Yes. So does Rivet Logic own the Crafter engine, or is it a separate product?
So the question is, does Rivet Logic own Crafter? Not anymore. So we originally built it over the course of many years, starting in 2007 to 2013. And then in 2013, Rivet Logic spun out Crafter Software as a separate company to take Crafter to the market. So all the intellectual property was transferred over to that company. So Crafter's owned by Crafter Software now. And they sell support in a very similar model to Alfresco, and they're a technology partner of Alfresco. Any other questions? Cool. All right, well, let's see if the demo works. It was working all day. But we know how the demo gremlins work. So let me, guess we can do this here. Okay, so the first thing I want to start with is the actual Marketing Center site. So I'm going to wear different hats in this demo, so you have to bear with me as I change hats here. I should have brought maybe some real hats. But so this is the actual, think of this is a real Marketing Asset Center site. So I might be a salesperson coming into this site to search and browse assets. So this is just another website. And so this is the configuration, the look and feel of this is totally customizable. And I'll show you a little bit about how easy it is to customize it. But for now, this is the Rivet Logic Marketing Asset Center. This is the demo site that we are bundling in with the release. As I mentioned, this is a free open source add-on to Alfresco, and so you actually get a working Marketing Asset Center and some assets in here to start with. I'll tell you a little bit about that. So this is just the design we chose and we thought would be a nice user interface as a demo app, but this can be customized to however your organization needs it. Now, of course, MasterCard has a much more sophisticated web application for their users, but the same principles apply. A search interface, that's very powerful and through faceted search and using Alfresco's search integration with Solar. And we also have a browsing capability that we chose just to put here under the search box. So all categories within Alfresco, the Alfresco repository, the formal taxonomy, or the categories that are defined in the content model for this content are shown here and can be used for navigation. And then we have a section here for featured content as well. I'll talk a little bit about that later. So one of the most popular use cases, of course, would be the search box here. So I can search, for example, on press releases, and we'll get a search result page with all of the different press releases. So if I just wanted to get up to speed on what's going on in the company, if I'm a salesperson, I want to send off the latest press release on a certain topic or a certain product, I can use this center, of course, to do that. We just have a handful of press releases in here, but of course this could be a very large repository. If I select on an asset, I get what we call the detail page. So it's just another page in our site where I get a little preview using Alfresco's preview capability. And then I've got some other navigation, some other features over here. Again, based on our experience working with MasterCard and some other clients, the concept of, first off, of course, you always want a quick way to download the asset, right? Of course, so we got a download button, no brainer. But we also have the concept of bundles, where you can create a bundle, put this asset in a bundle, or add it to an existing bundle, so that while I'm browsing around and I'm pulling different assets together, I can put those all into one package and then download the whole package together all at once. And then, of course, I get a share link, so I can easily share. This is just a URL to the same download button, basically. So, but if I want to grab that and email that off to a colleague, I can do that. So if we just go back and now, so that's kind of the search interface. And then if I just go through and say I want to browse the assets, and I want to say, hey, let's check out where all the illustrations are. Same thing. Here we're going to have a little bit more illustrations, kind of paginated here. And then, of course, I have the kind of the facets, all the different asset types and asset categories. And the way we structured this is these, again, map directly to the Alfresco content model, the categories that are defined within Alfresco. So as the content manager, I'll show you that, if I add new categories and new asset types, they automatically show up here on this interface. And then the end users can easily browse through that. So if I want to also look at, give me all the infographics and give me all of the images in the repository so I can look around. Of course, that just expands the footprint here. So now I see not just assets, but our corporate leaders and other images. And what you may notice here is all these assets kind of the same theme. And so what I've chosen, this is just totally arbitrary, but for this demo and for this story, I'm going to assume the position of that we're a bank. We're the Bitcoin bank, okay? And that's the fictitious user here of this asset, so of this system. So you see we've got a number of these Bitcoin related assets that might be used as part of our digital marketing campaigns. And here you see we have different formats and resolutions for some of these. We also have descriptions and details. If I go back and look at all the different assets, I may want to then refine my categories. So they're not formal types and categories, but I can also just apply tags. Alfresco gives me the capability to just have free-form tags on content. So if I, for example, search on mobile, I'm going to get all of the mobile tagged content items. And if I want to refine that further, for example, just give me all the ones that have an Android device in them, then I refine it even further down to that. So kind of give you a sense of the ability to combine the faceted navigation here along with the search capability to refine down the assets that you're looking for. Yep, question?
Click into the detail page. If you had like 7 different languages, would it show you the different versions of each asset?
Well, we would take a different approach in that we would know when you logged in what region you were in, what language was your preference, and only deliver that language to you. You could do it that way as well, right? So the question is if I click into an asset, can we have different language choices here? So really the answer is it's up to you. You can have different language buttons here and then have different pages that are navigated, or you can navigate through this interface and through buttons, or another approach, more dynamic approach, maybe I'd say a little more user-friendly approach would be to have to target that content and just deliver that language of choice based on the user's role or what we know about that user when they come to the system.
Right. I was just thinking from a user experience perspective. Somebody in our marketing department would log in, and they probably want to see that all 7.
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. Right. Right, yeah. No, whatever works for your organization. The flexibility, I'll show you in a bit about the flexibility of how you manage this particular site. Because remember, we can manage the assets in Alfresco and this experience through Crafter. And Crafter is a full web CMS capability that gives you that that type of capability to customize the look and feel and the full experience of the end users. Okay. So what else do I want to show here at this point? I think that's about it for the end user site. You kind of get the sense, the search interface, the navigation interface, the search page, and the ability to refine your results to get to what you're looking for. Now let's take the example of I'm a marketing person. and I want a tag cloud. I think I love tag clouds, and I'm a salesperson, really. I want to send a tag cloud to my sales prospect. So I come to the center, and I search for tag cloud, and there's nothing there. It's a problem. So I'm going to call up marketing and say, hey, give me a tag cloud. So now I'm going to put my hat on as a marketing person, right? So now I'm in the marketing department. I'm going to say, all right, we got to have a tag cloud. So I'm going to go in back. Now I'm in Alfresco share, and I'm within the repository. I'm going to go into this marketing assets folder. And again, this can be arbitrary. You normally have some folder structure here that makes sense for your department. For this demo, we just have all our assets in one folder. So I'm going to upload some content here, and I actually happen to have a tag cloud. So I'm going to upload that into Alfresco. But of course, a real workflow here would be, there'd be some creative. This is where we can use Alfresco's collaborative capabilities to maybe interact with our digital agency and go back and forth in creating this asset. But for these purposes here, we already have it. So I've uploaded it right here, and I can take a look at it. So Alfresco will give me a nice preview of this, and I can say, yes, this is exactly what I want. So the next step I would take is to edit the properties of this asset. I can give it a title and a description and some of this other standard metadata. In fact, I'm going to apply a tag cloud tag to it. So I've got, these are kind of free-form tags that are within the Alfresco repository that are, once I apply them, can show up through search. We got some other standard metadata that Alfresco recognizes as an image, so it automatically captures some of this metadata. But then we have our custom metadata for the Marketing Assets Center. We have these, what we call facets. Again, this could be, you could call them whatever you want, as well as the different formats. Like we want to select JPEG and PNG and these different resolutions. But I also want to select some categories for this. I can localize this to a particular region, for example, or a language. In this case, I just want to use some of our assets, facets that are used in that navigation structure and the checkboxes that we had in our delivery. So I'm going to come in here into the category, and I'm going to say this is an illustration. I've selected my formats and resolutions, and now me as the marketing person, I'm good to go. Now what I'd like to do is start a workflow, and I want to send this to my boss so that we have some checks and balances in the system. And this is where, again, you can leverage Alfresco's capabilities for creating complex and rich workflows. What we're using here, what we've configured here is what we call the Marketing Assets Center workflow. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to start that workflow, and now it's off, and I'm done. My job's done for now, unless it's rejected. So now I'm going to put on another hat. Now I'm the marketing VP, and I get a task. So I'm in Alfresco. I get this task. I look at the tasks, and I see, oh, I actually got a couple of them. Here's this one. Here's the cloud. I can take a look at it, and I can review it and say, yep, I like it. So I'm going to approve it. Once I do that, I should be able to go back to the Assets Center and now and call up the sales guy and say, okay, go check it out. We have a tag cloud now in the Marketing Assets Center, right? So now it's available there, and it's available in all the different formats and resolutions that we wanted it. So now the end users get ready access to that system like that. Yeah, so the question is in the actual repository when we're reviewing that, is there a way to make markups on the assets? And the answer is absolutely. I think there's some add-ons to Alfresco. I don't know, I mean, Paul's in the back, I see. He can probably, you can grab him afterwards about some of the capabilities, but that's exactly those types of capabilities for that are upstream of what I'm showing you here, where we're reviewing an asset that's already been kind of approved. The creative has been approved, perhaps somewhere else. During that collaborative process, you could be marking up these assets, and then once they're ready, then you apply the properties to them and then send them through a final workflow for publishing out to the asset center. If you remember, under tasks, I actually had another workflow item. Somebody assigned me, it looks like this would be cool for our branding. If I look at that, and I look at that and I say, wow, we don't want anonymous associated with our brand, so I'm going to reject that. And that's the kind of capability, again, that you get here with the system, where if you find a problem with any of these assets that are going through the workflow, you send something off to a region, and they send something back with some scary masks. They have some certain connotations. Then they're not going to get out to the field and compromise your brand. So that kind of shows that capability there. And then the last thing I want to show you is how do we manage the site itself? And this is where that middle component of that architecture I showed you, which is Crafter Studio, of actually managing this site. Because if I'm Bitcoin Bank, I'm the CEO of Bitcoin Bank or the CMO, I don't want my site to say Rivet Logic Marketing Asset Center, right? I want it to say the Bitcoin Bank. So I'm going to come here and edit this page. So now this is still within Alfresco. It's a plugin to share, but it's for managing website content. So the actual page content and the page look and feel is managed through Crafter Studio. And what it provides us is a forms-based interface for managing all the metadata and the content on that page. So we can manage the URL, any copy. What we're really going to look at here is just the header and the featured items. Remember, the featured items were at the bottom. So remember, we had that one item, and I said, hey, that one salesperson liked that tag cloud, so I'm going to add that to the featured item. There it is. Save and close that. And now we have the tag cloud as a featured item. And I don't have time to go into this. We invite you to our booth that we have on the showroom floor there. We could talk about how we can customize this experience for, not just for the general audience like this, but for individual roles that tailored to different people and personalize that experience. But we still have this problem in that it says the Rivet Logic Marketing Asset Center. So I'm going to go to this entry header object within the content model. I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to replace the Rivet Logic logo with our Bitcoin logo. I'm going to replace the background image with a nice Bitcoin image. Close that up, and now we have a rebranded asset center tailored to our particular organization. Crafter's got a number of other cool tools, as I mentioned, for targeting content and even editing content inline here, so you don't have to go to the forms interface. Again, no time to go through all that, but what we always like to show is, everyone's using mobile devices these days in enterprises, so we also want to see what this looks like on a mobile device. So we have a responsive design here, so of course you see that how the navigation here that was in 4 different columns here turns into a nice navigation for the phone. If we want to see what it's going to look like on an iPad or really any device, you can do so. And this is fully functional as well. So if I want to go in and look at any of these categories on the iPad, I can see what the search results looks like. And you see instead of 3 or 4 across, we've got it tailored for that particular device. So that's the demo. At the last few seconds I have here, let me pull up the last couple slides here so you get a little bit more information. Availability is now ready for download. Again, this is free and open source software licensed under GPL3. We bundle it in with the Alfresco Community Edition and with the Crafter Open Source Community Edition. And then of course, we're in business to provide support and implementation services from Rivet Logic, and we do those, of course, on the Alfresco Enterprise Edition. If you want to learn more, it's up on the web. We have a webinar scheduled next week at alfresco.com and available online. And as I mentioned, we got a booth down in the showcase floor to learn more. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Like the average time, I feel like I'm asking too many questions. The average time to implement something like this for a marketing department with, you know, maybe 1,000 assets, for instance. How do you scope that and figure out exactly?
Right. Yep. So the question is how would you scope out an implementation of this? Well, I'll give you a sense of, so we built this demo site starting really from nothing. We did starting from the wireframes and then building the actual site itself on top of Crafter Engine, and then the core content model within Alfresco. It was one developer and one UI developer for about 4 weeks. And as I said, that is all included in this solution that's free. So if you're comfortable with this design, you could literally just start throwing content in here, and you can manage your site look and feel the way you want. And as you can, just by going into Alfresco's category manager, you change that navigation. The browse categories, that's automatically done. There's no development to do there. Now, so that's kind of the simple answer, is you could be immediate, right? If you're a small, medium-sized organization, you just want to throw 1,000 assets, you can use this demo site as a starting point without any development. There's probably a few bugs in there that need to get fixed, but they're minor. And we'll fix those up probably as just part of our open source maintenance of the platform. Now, where it gets interesting and where you're going to have longer development cycles, like a MasterCard, is getting into the personalization. So if you want to have login to the site, you want to tailor the experience for different roles, now you're getting into more development because you're going to develop more of that web application. Is probably going to be different for those different roles, not just the content, but you're going to want to have more page templates. You want to have maybe more information on those detail pages. You want to build out the concept of those bundles, which there's nothing implemented there in bundles. We just download one asset right now. So that, you have to take all that into account. What you're talking about in terms of 1,000 assets, I'd say you could probably start with this. And if you didn't need to personalize the experience, it would be very quick. If you start to get into those other more advanced capabilities, a typical project for us like this is on the order of 2 to 3 months with a handful of developers.
And do a lot of people use it for like their intranet as far as like personal profiles? So I work at a company and it's my profile. Because everything is right now is very separate for our marketing department. And I feel like this might be a good both marketing and profiles of each of the employees.
Okay, so the question is can you also add to this site with user profile information for individual users? And the answer is yes, absolutely. It's just another type of page that, and furthermore, you can pull that information from Alfresco as well, if they're also Alfresco users. So really you're just surfacing the content that's already in Alfresco. If they're separate, or you just want to have them manage that separately, you can do that as well. So you have flexibility in how you go about that. But yeah, user profile page is really not much different from that item detail page. It's just, you're just pulling different content. The only thing, if you're not going to go through the Alfresco interface to allow where they're putting that user information in, then you have to also have user pages that allow them to edit their profiles. So you have to have an image upload, you have to have editing capabilities on the actual site itself. So those are the things you need to take into account. But it's certainly feasible. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you for your time.